Mr. Beast seems like such a nice guy. He helps people by using the power of money, and there isn't much to make fun of him for. But screw that, I'm going to make a Mr. Beast style video in the South Park world, and make him do some pretty questionable things. He is famous for luring people into doing extravagant tasks with the potential prospect of money at the end, aka challenge videos. There is usually no actual punishment if they fail, other than being kicked out of the competition. But this is South Park, and South Park is If they fail this challenge, they will be brutally murdered. It is just the only way it could be. This whole thing will be animated in Blender, but I need a model of Mr. Beast. I modelled his hair out of a half sphere, and then made a pretty dodgy beard. For his clothes, I went with the classic tiger logo. I made it by bringing in a picture of the logo and then extruding the edges of a flat surface until it was the full shape. This is what he looks like. Pretty nice. These are the models that I will be using for the boys. They are simple, but I think they get the job done. At some point, I should probably make them actually look good, but for now, I will just live with the constant fear of PS2 graphics Kyle. But I have a problem. In order to make Jimmy seem like he is a bad guy, I need to make him say things that make him seem like a bad guy. To clone his voice, I needed lots of footage of him talking without any background noise. Since his videos are usually full of sound effects that will confuse the AI, I had to use audio from this Joe Rogan podcast. Thank you, mister, I have a $200 million Spotify deal. I just had to cut out all of the relevant lines and then feed them into the generator, and I have a pretty accurate voice.
Hey, subscribe to this channel and I will give you $10 million.
For legal reasons, I cannot guarantee you will actually get $10 million for subscribing, but you can try anyway. The Mr. Beast video style is something that has been copied so much that now even this Russian guy has 47 million subscribers from just ripping off his thumbnails. I'm joking, he doesn't only do that, he also rips off the videos. So I took some notes to make my animation as authentic as possible. The main things I picked up on are the stupidly fast cuts, the lack of character development and personality, and the constant barrage of random stock sound effects. I'm joking, his videos are great, but seriously, if I hear that money sound one more time, I'm going to... I will need 3 sets for the 3 challenges that the boys will be competing in. A bridge over the void, red light, green light, and what I'm calling the money set. Oh no, now I'm using that sound as well. The money set was easy, just put in some pirated models of money and some white walls and call it a day. Side note, has anyone else realised how many times Cartman has tried to get his hands on $10 million? I don't know why, but it seems like an unwritten rule that every time Eric wants money, it is always $10 million exactly. Red light, green light was also pretty simple, as it was just copying what the Mr. Beast Squid games looked like and nothing there was hard to replicate. However, the bridge over the void was a bit harder. It was inspired by this, but I didn't want it to be an exact recreation. I ended up going with this circular wall, lined with lights for a bit of detail. Take note of the bright red lever and also the fact that the bridge splits perfectly into 2 parts over the void. I will give you 2 options. A, it won't need to be used because Mr. Beast is such a nice guy. Or B, Kenny is definitely getting dropped. I had trouble making the void look like a void because the material was reflecting the lights. I spent a whole hour making minor adjustments to try and resolve this, and then after all that I realised I could have just told it to not interact with light. Now that everything is ready, I can animate. This is Stan being brutally murdered. Somehow, this is the 2nd time I have animated a small child getting shot in the last month. Some might say that says something about me, but I say, why stop at 2? As a result, we also have Kyle getting shot by Cartman. I used these red spheres and then applied an explosion simulation to turn him into a bloody fountain. But it looked a bit thin, so I duplicated it a few times and now we have a nice stream of blood. A light was used to signify the machine gun fire, and a custom pool of blood being revealed under him finished off the effect. About halfway through doing this, my mouse started to squeak. This was moderately annoying. I always try to animate my South Park characters in the same style as the show, which leads to most of it looking pretty janky, but I decided to animate Kenny falling into the void in a really cartoony way. His feet fall first, and then his body has to catch up to him. Oh yeah, the answer to the earlier question was B, if it wasn't already obvious. This is very similar to Looney Tunes animation, where they really push the concept of squash and stretch to the limit. The only time I have seen something like this in South Park was in season 1, when they were still trying to work out what the show should look like. South Park, what is this meant to be? To get a highly produced look, I rendered it in Eevee and Cycles, and then combined the 2. This way, I could get the soft shadows of Cycles without having to worry about how it renders object collisions. Very nice. If you want to know one thing that I hate, it is animating mouths for South Park characters. It is so tedious. First, I need to sync up all of the mouth shapes to the audio. Then, I have to move them frame by frame to follow the characters' heads. And when there are multiple characters in the shot at once, it just takes even longer. I could leave it there and show you the video right now, but I wanted to add that extra bit of detail, the extra sauce, the spice that makes something normal into something special. I edited the video as if I was a MrBeast employee, and added as many random effects as possible. Numbers floating behind the characters, random shaky camera effects, a few stupidly quick cuts, and some random subtitles. Oh, as well as all of the sound effects. Here is $10 million MrBeast South Park.
This is $10 million, and these 4 kids are competing for it in my 3-stage obstacle course.
I really want that $10 million.
First, they need to cross this thin bridge across the void to get to the next challenge.
Oh my god, they killed Kenny!
Well, I guess we should just go on to challenge 2. And now, we are at red light, green light. Red light. Good job, boys. You 2 are our finalists.
I'm going to win!
Boys, put one hand on the money. The last one to take their hand off wins. And we have our winner. What do you want to say to the audience?
You, Kyle!